Call the meeting to order, and let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, I'd like to begin with comments from the general public. Mr. Ward?
Good evening, folks, school committee. I'm Dick Ward. I'm the chairman of Selectmen still, and the building, the elementary school building committee. I didn't get a chance to get on your agenda. I apologize. So I figured I'll just quickly get on citizen participation, or whatever you term it. And the point that I want to make, and it's already been in the paper and things, but the Mass School Building Assistance Authority accepted our schematic plans, basic schematic plans, and we're moving forward on that project. And so now, with the architects and the project managers can go to work on defining the smaller and the plans and develop that over the next few months, and that will also include the costs. So by September, we're hoping to have, maybe mid-September, the plans all defined and the costs defined. So I didn't get to the MSBA meeting last Wednesday, and Liz did. Michael Malinowski, town administrator, did. I don't remember who you said else went.
Chad, our owner's project manager, and Matt LaRue from
HMFH.
Yeah, and actually about 10 people from their office were there because they represented so many projects.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
I can let you explain more in the meeting if you would like.
So this puts us on track to go to the MSBA board meeting in either late October or early November, and be ready to vote by the town in probably first weeks of December. So, but there's a lot to be done between now and then, because we have basically a conceptual design of the building now that matches our education plan, and we're going to further fine tune that, and we have some documents due next week. And then from here on out, most of the work is done by the architects, and the costing is done by the project managers and MSBA. So we will have two independent cost estimates. One, the MSBA, one will be our project managers, and then we'll have a project scope and funding meeting with MSBA, and they'll decide on our final number for which they will fund, and how much, based on the schematic design, how much reimbursement we will get. But because you get points for green design, you get points for other elements of the building. So this will help us get more in reimbursement as the design process. But then we have to communicate all of this to the community. So Dick and I have a big job.
Yeah, Mr. Malinowski said they also talked about increasing the cost per square foot of reimbursement.
Yes,
that might help us.
They went up to $299. They've increased it twice in the past 9 years, which is a lot for MSBA, because they do realize that cost escalation has happened in the building industry, which means that we have more chance of reimbursement, keeping the costs per square foot down. We will, except if we build something extra, which we're not going to, we would be reimbursed based on $299 a square foot, and before it was $288, I believe. So it's more.
That's great.
Yeah.
We have a building committee meeting next Monday, 7 o'clock at the town hall. Part of our agenda is going to be some excited department heads and lead teachers that went up to the Christopher McAuliffe School with us. They were excited with the concepts that HMFH uses in their school design. Now don't forget, they're very efficient, but their schools really seem kid-friendly. So next Monday we will meet with the school committee, the building committee, and go over everything again.
We got there a little before the principal was expecting us at the school, and there was a whole lunchroom, 200 kids in the lunchroom with the doors opened, and you couldn't hear the kids talking, and you know that they weren't talking. They have so well designed acoustically that in the hallway we were standing 10 feet away, you couldn't hear them. It was amazing. They put rubberized floors.
There were a lot of exciting things happening there. It was very upbeat color-wise. The sound is, they have sound panels and things everywhere. The corridors aren't just straight. They wind a little. They have little areas of learning all along the way. It was very exciting for the teachers, and I was right there because I got grandkids too.
That's right.
So
Thank you for coming.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Excellent. Any other comments from the public? Andrew, we have some celebrations. If you'd like to read that, please.
Yeah, thanks, Gina. We had two sports celebrations that we wanted to obviously make noted. Recent graduate Andrew Schoen placed first in the 800 meters in the South Shore League meet. The South Shore class meet, and 20th at the state finals on graduation day. So not only did he grab his diploma, but he also got to Fitchburg in time to finish 20th overall, which was a great accomplishment.
It was actually Division 4 state champion.
Yes, Division 4 state champion, which was the first one, and then he broke the school record in the 800 also. So we're hoping to have a runoff with Nick Costa and Andrew Schoen to see who the school's fastest really is.
Andrew will win. He's younger.
We've got also a junior to mention, Rebecca I'm going to say this right, Shifley, placed third in the discus in the South Shore meet, which was also the class meet, and 21st overall in the state finals. So that also speaks highly to the future for next year. So those are great sports accomplishments recently.
Thank you, Andrew, and well done, Andrew and Rebecca. Okay, so we're going to move to comments from the EAPC, and Jackie.
Good evening, everybody. Donna sends her regrets. She's negotiating in Plymouth tonight. I have two things to talk about. Well, three really. First, we're winding down the year, and by all accounts, it looks like it's a successful year. Second, this week is designated as an action week for the Mass Teachers Association. I'm wearing a sticker tonight that says, "Less testing, more learning." And the teachers have spoken over the last year. The MTA has done a number of forums to talk about testing, especially at the elementary levels, and they have taken it upon themselves to act, and so there's legislation, House Bill number 340, that is sitting and waiting to be acted on, and the MTA is asking that parents, teachers, administration, school committee, everybody get in touch with your representatives in order to get this out of committee and onto the floor for a vote. And what it would effectually do is a little bit more than what DESE has already done, which is to reduce the amount of PARCC testing for next year. It would actually put a 3-year moratorium on the growth of PARCC testing so that more study and analysis can be done so that we're not shocking our kids in school with testing. So the EAPC and the MTA is behind that. So I wanted to share that with you. I also wanted to say goodbye for a little while. I am not going to be the vice president for the EAPC representing Carver for next year. I opted not to run this year. But in my stead, I want to introduce Tammy Johnson, who is going to be even better than any of us before. And if you could come up here and say hello.
Very kind, but not accurate. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Jackie. I'd like to everyone to join in with me to thank Jackie for all her service, because we've been very, very, very fortunate. All right, she's an amazing council, amazing speaker. So it's definitely big footsteps to fill. Some of the things that I would like to just to add, that it is exciting that the forums that have happened this year. One of the things that I do come with this last year, I was actually a board member of the MTA. So I've actually learned a lot. Went on a National Education Association Leadership Conference this past year for a weekend, and it's been a growth experience for me, and I look forward to using some of the things that I learned. So aside from the EAPC, I'm also wearing my math club t-shirt because it's been an exciting year for our math club, and both our middle school and high school. But more so, I'm actually the math coach for the middle school. This year, for the first year, we entered Math Counts, which is actually a national math competition. And for our first time out there, our middle school schoolers went out a team of 4, and we came in 3rd place in our region. So that actually placed us into the state competition, which was at Wentworth Institute of Technology, and it was a phenomenal experience for our students and for me also. I actually spent a lot of time with the Plymouth South coach at that meet because he came in 2nd place with his students. So we had it was his first time also. So we did a lot of brainstorming for next year. So I really look forward to that. Also, we also compete in the New England Mathematics League, and we had 33 students in the middle school participate. Very, very high number in the 6th grade. Being a 6th grade teacher, that probably had something to do with that, but still very, very exciting. And our 8th grade team actually scored 3rd place in our region, so I'm very proud of that. And one of our students, Holly Lazan, scored 3rd place with her individual score. So for our 8th graders. And our 7th graders did awesome. We actually, when you score for the New England Mathematics League, you post the scores of the top 5 students, and I had 16 students score in the top 5 students, which is phenomenal. And they were both 6th graders and 7th graders. We only do the 7th and 8th grade competitions. So it was real exciting, and I just would like to share that accomplishment for this year. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Student Advisory or Captain's Council, but I don't see any. I didn't think so.
They graduated.
Okay, we have approval of minutes. I would like to entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to approve the minutes from May 11th, the regular session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was what that adjustment was, that sheet when we came in?
Yes, did you get that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And that one's passing. You want me to just do them one by one? Is that the best way?
If you could.
And then I'll make a motion to approve the May 26, 2015 workshop meeting with Select Board minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And I'll make a motion to approve the May 26, 2015 executive session minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions, concerns, discussions? Okay. Moving on to communications.
Yes, we had 24 students accepted to Old Colony Vocational Technical High School, and I am going to read their names because it's quite an honor to be selected. Not everyone gets entrance to the school. Sam Blotner, TJ Bork, Michael Birdzik, Connor Christian, Megan Connolly, Alicia Crawford, Noah Dalton, Michael Donacci, Jessica Donahue, Skylar Duarte, Thomas Ford, Anna Frangillo, Ryan Galloway, Tyler Griffin, Amanda Hannon, Spencer Kilgrew, Daniel Lawrence, Patrick Murphy, Alvia Page, Ariana Picarello, Douglas Smith, Maxwell Smith, Dante Vitale, and Jacob Warden. So that's a very good news for them, and I know their families, and the school is certainly proud of them. Then I'd like Barry to talk about this. So Barry got very proactive and went online and ordered us something.
Yeah, well, I was thrilled when I heard the other day we got this great item from the Mount Vernon. I've been involved in the school committee, so I love the schools, obviously, and I've been in the town for 40 years. And one of my memories as a kid at the Governor John Carver Elementary School is walking through the halls of that building and seeing a portrait of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And it made a big impact on me as a kid and influenced a lot of stuff about me, but my interest in history for sure and the love of this country. So I was surfing the net one night, and I came upon Mount Vernon's website, and right on the banner it said, apply for a portrait of George Washington, bring George Washington back to the schools. And I thought, what the heck? So I filled out the information. One of the good news is it was free. So I filled that out, and that was back in September. I totally forgot about it. And then opened up the binder this weekend, and I saw that we had been awarded it. So I'm so excited. I know Mr. Neef loves history as well, and I believe we're going to put it in the Carver Middle High School. And so it will shine brightly and remind everyone of our first patriot and all the principles he held dear. And I know, just like anyone, he's not a perfect man, but he did a lot of great things for our country. So I think it's great that our kids will get to look at him every day and the citizens of Carver. So let me just read the letter.
Sure,
I'm going to do letter reading here. So where did
I
that
took
go?
it back.
All right, I got it. So
Here it is.
bear with me just 1 minute. And you have it right there? So on behalf of the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, I am pleased to present you with a full-size replica of Rembrandt Peale's famous porthole portrait of George Washington. For over 150 years, the Mount Vernon Ladies Association has owned and operated George Washington's Mount Vernon with the mission to preserve the home of the father of our country and to educate people throughout the world about his life and legacy. We are glad to know the portrait will hang in a prominent location at your organization today and for years to come. And throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, George Washington was one of the most popular subjects to appear in prints. In 1795, the 17-year-old Rembrandt Peale painted Washington. This experience, in addition to his rigorous studies of other renderings of George Washington, led to Peale's creation of Patre Pater, I think that's Latin, or father of his country in 1824. This image became known as the porthole portrait due to the masonry frame surrounding Washington. Over the course of his life, Rembrandt Peale painted over 70 variations of this portrait. And if you'd like to share photographs of the portrait, the email's here, etc., etc., etc. Thank you for bringing George Washington back into your community. And that's signed by the president and CEO of the George Washington's Mount Vernon. So I'm so grateful to get it. And did you read that line, Peter? For keeping it at your location today and for years to come, so we can't sell it.
Okay.
No? All right.
Will not balance the budget, I promise.
So that's a great thing, and they asked that if we hang it to take a picture with some students and send it to their,
They haven't picked a location for it yet.
Okay. I know you picked the best spot.
maybe the kids could decide where to put it. That'd be
I was thinking my office across from Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's going to be in a more prominent location.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Neef.
And thank you, Barry.
Oh, my pleasure. You never know.
That's
you know?
right.
Just give it a shot, everybody. That's my motto.
So, the other thing we have to announce is the Carver 8th grade chorus with some 7th grade special guests and the Carver High School concert chorus were both awarded gold medals at the Great East Music Festival on May 15th. And in your binder, there's a picture of them in front of their busts. So that was another great honor to the Carver students and their hardworking teachers. So we really praise everybody for that one. Every year, Mr. Rhoda inspires his students to participate in a Engineering Encounters Bridge Design Contest. And they connected the same day, May 15th, they conducted the semifinal round. And Kyle Rizzuto and Holly Lazan had 2 hours to submit bridge designs with specific specifications given to them at that time. And Kyle and Holly need to finish in the top 2 for middle school teams to compete in the finals rounds. Should one of the teams not be able to compete, Kyle and Holly are the alternates and would attend in their place. The other 2 team members are from Rochester, Minnesota and Orlando, Florida. They placed 2nd overall for Massachusetts grades 6 through 12 and 1st overall for Massachusetts middle school. So that's another huge honor for our kids, and thanks to Mr. Rhoda for really giving them the skills they need to do this and teaching them every day. So this is another good thing. And in your package, you see pictures of them. They, from the Boston Society of Civil Engineers Awards banquet for the top 20 teams in the state. 3 teams were from Carver out of the top 20.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
And I also that comment that in the last 4 years in a row that Carver has had students complete the semifinal round and been one of the top 50 teams in the country. That's
Fantastic.
excellent.
So, got lots of things going on every day, and in every way we should be proud of them. I've also included the Reed's quarterly report. You've gotten it before, which has their improvement goals for next year, the final update on the budget, which I sent to all of you last week, I believe, and some changes in the programs, and like Carver, they also have to have reviews by the Department of Education, and I gave you some information about their most recent coordinated program review. So, any questions about the Reed's report? I have to say the executive director does a wonderful job of keeping us informed. I've been serving on the board for 10 years, and this has been the last, since she's been the executive director, we've had the most information we've ever had, so it's very good. And I'm going to
We have a letter from the superintendent, and I'm going to have Barry read the letter.
Okay, now this is, we just read that letter from Mount Vernon, which I enjoyed. This next letter I am not as happy about, but I understand you deserve it, and of course, and I'm looking forward to your future. But let me read this letter. We received this from the superintendent. Dear school committee, I write to inform you that it is my intention to retire as of June 30th, 2016. It has been my pleasure and an honor to serve as your superintendent of schools for 10 years. I commend my administrative leadership team for their constant commitment to continuous improvement for every student and for the district as a whole. The leadership of the Carver schools is a team effort. We have worked together to nurture the future leaders of the Carver schools. I commend all of our teachers, paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, custodians, food service workers, and bus drivers for their dedication to excellence in every aspect of our work together. I will leave the most talented and dedicated school leaders and staff in the Commonwealth to continue their excellent work with the new superintendent of schools. I hope by announcing my intention to retire a year in advance, the smoothest transition possible will be supported by this action. My 10 years in Carver have been very challenging in terms of the economic recession, but also extremely rewarding in terms of progress for students. Thank you for this amazing opportunity to lead your schools for a full decade. I promise I will continue to work very hard every day of the next year to lead our school system to the continued success. Thank you, the school committee, for your dedication of working with me in the best interest of all our students. Sincerely, Elizabeth A. Sorrell, Superintendent of Schools. So, thank you so much.
So I hinted at it, now it's official. So if we don't change the date of graduation, next year's graduation will be the 50th anniversary of my high school graduation.
Wow. Wow.
So.
No snow.
It's okay, it'll happen anyway, but, and then I was driving somewhere this weekend, and probably the graduation, and I was thinking, you know, counting my own 12 years, I didn't get to go to kindergarten, didn't have it then. You had to pay for a private one. My brother got to go because my mother was just, you know, he was way too active for her. But 12 years, 4 years of undergraduate school, 4 years of graduate school. I have spent 57 years of my life going to school every day. Wow.
Well, you deserve it.
Did you learn anything?
I did. I took 3 years off that it didn't work when I had my children, but other than that, every day. So I will miss it, but I'm ready. And Scott will be, he'll be watching me because he likes retirement parties better than anything. So it's official now. We don't have to tiptoe around it. So should I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay, so personnel updates. we have been very busy hiring because we had some surprise retirements at the end, and some we knew about. So we've hired Vera Brookvine she's a Carver resident, and she's going to be our new elementary school nurse because Mrs. Schoen is moving to the middle high school because Dinah Pierce decided to resign to continue her own education. We've hired Erin Cogan, grade 5, and Megan Curley, grade 5. We've hired Stephen Mahoney as our new technology specialist. Erin Shanahan for grade 1, and I'm going to let Scott introduce the next person.
Not gonna go on, come on up. So, grab your seat too.
You don't have to stand.
So I'd like to introduce the new assistant principal of Carver Middle High School, Mark Souza. I'll give you a little bit of Mark's background and the process we went through in terms of hiring. So we had an interview team that consisted of the administration team, myself, Mrs. Cabral, and Mr. Schultz. Teachers, Tammy Johnson. Tammy still here? No. Tammy Johnson, Paula Shaw, and Jeff Mallon, and Jean Dean. And we also had a couple students, Evan Hermano, Gigi Tracy. And we interviewed a number of outstanding candidates, and Mark really rose to the top. He has a BA in music from the University of Rhode Island and a master's in school administration from American International College. He's last served as a music teacher at New Bedford High School, instructing in both jazz bands and also having classroom experience teaching high school electives. And ultimately, what we garnered out of the interview process is that Mark is a knowledgeable classroom instructor, that he's going to make outstanding connections with students. He's going to be well prepared for this position. Really impressed by his communication skills. I think he's going to be an effective communicator with parents and with students. I think Mark's excited about the transition. Him and I just spent some time together this evening, and I think he's really excited about it. And ultimately, I believe he's going to be dedicated to the Carver Public Schools. And the feelings that we as an interview team had, those feelings were supported as we checked his references and spoke with the people that he's worked with. Those are the things that they said were his strengths. So what we as the interview team identified as his strengths were also what the people he works with have identified as his strengths. So we're really excited to introduce Mark as the new assistant principal for students in grades 9 through 12 at Carver Middle High School.
Excellent. Welcome, Mark. Mark, would you like to say anything?
Sure.
I didn't prep him. Is that it, Tom?
That's fine. I really am incredibly excited. I couldn't be more excited. I take education incredibly seriously. I have students, daily, oh, well, I'd do that if they paid me to come to school, and they don't realize they're getting the biggest paycheck of their life, when they finish high school. And, after my family, the students that I serve are the most important people in my life. There's nothing that the law will allow me to do that I won't do to help our students succeed and reach success.
Thank you. Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Welcome to Carver.
And I would also, if I can just take a minute, sorry. I would also like to thank Mr. Evans. So Mr. Evans is here this evening. He's going to be talking about the changes in the high school handbook. And we're excited that Mr. Evans has made a decision to return to the classroom. So Mr. Evans is going to be a high school math instructor for us next year, a position he once held at our school. And I'm supportive of that move because I think it's what he wants to do. And I think he's excited about that transition. So we're happy to see Mr. Evans return to the classroom, and him and I have worked together for the past 7 years, and that's been an outstanding experience where I think he's really done an outstanding job. So I'm going to take a moment to thank Mr. Evans for his service as assistant principal at Carver Middle High School. Thank you.
We have also hired Susan Warren as a reading teacher, and she has been working with us as a paraprofessional. So this is a hometown move here. And there are some other moves that Anne-Marie Gallagher has been working with us as a speech-language pathology assistant, and she's going to be a full-time special education teacher. So we do raise our own leaders here in Carver, which I think says the best thing about the school system. Michelle Taylor graduated from Carver High School, was a teacher here, and now She's the K-12 Director of Literacy. Carrie Agashi graduated from high school here in Carver, and now she's our Associate Principal at the elementary school. Jen Kelly worked with us as a teacher, and now she's the math coach and on the administrative team at the elementary school. Scott has been with us from teacher, department chair, 2 kinds of assistant principals, and now the high school principal. So it's a wonderful thing, and I should drag. You were behind the pole, and then there's Paula Foley, who's a resident, and she was a teacher in 2nd grade, and then she became the associate principal. So when your leaders start in your district and grow professionally into other positions, or decide to return to be a teacher because that's where their heart really is. It says a lot about a district, and I congratulate everyone, and the hiring process has been keeping us all very busy, but we're very happy with what we've done. We did have a surprise retirement. Mr. Ciafella came to see me last week and said, okay, Liz, you didn't know this, but this is my last year, I've decided. So he's, Mr. Frankie C., Mr. C. is retiring this year. We didn't get to celebrate with him at the retirement party, but we'll invite him back next year. And also Lisa Mueller is resigning as a para to stay home with her grandchildren. So that keeps us up to date on the movement of personnel. So the next thing is the review of our district improvement plan. And so this is something that all of us work on, and it starts with the school improvement plans, and then we combine them over the summer with our own administrative goals to make our total yearly school improvement plan. So this is our report to you. It's the big one, the long legal size paper on how we've done. Some of our goals we continue every year, although we feel like we have accomplished the goals that we set out for this particular year. Some of them you will see on the plan again. So we're not going to read it to you, but I thought we'd go through the goals one by one, and you could ask the principals and the various administrators if if they any questions you might have. So if we rated ourselves a 1, we've completed it. If we rated ourselves 2, we're on target for completion by the end of the year, because we did this before the end of the year. And then 3 was not addressed, and for various reasons. Sometimes you don't get to do the thing you want to do. So if you look under instructional leadership, which in our goal provides standards-based curriculum and instruction to increase learning, student growth, and achievement as measured by selected state and local assessments. So 1's the biggest one because that's our business, teaching. And so please ask any questions you want. We're all here to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions?
I don't know. Actually a comment is, because we've talked about this when these have been presented before, that these are really done thoroughly, and you can tell that there's a lot of collaboration. And I think it's appreciative that it's very easy to analyze and look at also, and from our perspective, to be able to look at it and go through it quick enough and come up with anything. But I mean, it's usually done very thoroughly and very helpful. So thank you.
Although we haven't gotten a written report, the Department of Education review team that came to visit us said one of very few districts that they've ever visited is that their plan on paper, when they talk to the teachers in the classroom, when they talk to the principals, when they talk to the parents, and when they talk to the school committee, was actually what everybody talked about. So they call it triangulation of data. So it was affirming. So anybody else? All right, so then, like I said, the instructional leadership is the biggest one. And then management and operations goal 2, maintain current staff and programs while addressing the needs of the school buildings and implementing legal mandates, utilizing available resources and measured by current staffing levels, programs, and ongoing monitor of building conditions and compliance with legal mandates. So This addresses all the things that we do in management and operations from the school's perspectives. Any questions or comments?
Nope.
The third goal is in Goal 3, family and community. Inspire family, community, and schools to partner in support of academic excellence, personal, social, and emotional growth, and school pride as measured by student achievement data, community attendance at school events, and the number of discipline incidents. Just briefly, Christine and Carrie, could you comment on the discipline study that you did and just, what the improvement you saw over the year?
I can't state specifically, but I can tell you there's a great improvement in the number of referrals and students, incidents, and number of students that are being referred. And I think that that's a credit to a lot of different initiatives that we have going on in the school. PBIS being one of them. I think there's just been a lot of great programs. The special ed programs are supportive, the staff that we have is supportive. But there's a great decline in discipline incidents on the middle high school. And we are planning on, the PBIS team put together a really extensive report and data report at the end of the first semester. And we've been doing it for a couple of years, but now at the end of the second semester, over the summer, we'll add the second semester data to it as well. And we'd like to report out to faculty, because I think they put a lot of work and effort into what we've been doing, and I'd like them to see the results of their hard work and feel good about that. So.
We'll bring an official report to school committee in October probably, but it was startling. It was by hundreds of reduction, not just a few.
Yeah. And if I could just add to that, it was the same for the elementary. We so far looked at first term and second term, and we were at about half. So our referrals just from last year to this year have been cut down by 50%. And a big piece of that for us, we feel, is the initiative of Responsive Classroom. It's a fantastic, I want to call it a program, fantastic initiative that the teachers have really grasped, and they're using daily in their classrooms, and it's just fantastic to see the dramatic impact it's had just in a year, and we're going to continue that. So it's quite a few of us that are going back to some more training this summer, and then we're going to come back and not train our staff because we're not allowed to do that, but come back and give some tips to our staff to take forward.
Share.
Barry?
Yeah, I just want to, you're actually clarifying it as I'm hearing more, but when you mentioned the word referrals, and you said it was improving, I didn't know if you meant going up or going down. It sounds like it's going down. That's what you mean by a referral. So what is a referral, if I could get more clarification? Does some other student refer to you that they've been bullied or what have you?
It could be a discipline referral. Teachers can write a discipline referral for a variety of infractions. If they're being disruptive in classroom or behaviors that they're seeing in the schools, they can write a discipline referral to me. So that's what I meant by referrals. Or a referral could be, like you mentioned, a bullying reporting incident, something that came from a parent or another student.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good. That's, so pleasing to me to hear that. I sat in on that graduation this weekend, which I love to do, and I tell you, you hear the class president, Jared Willett, talk about how close everybody is, and I'm glad to hear that, but I do worry about the anonymous kid that's on the fringe, because it sounds like all the kids that are doing stuff, they're getting along, they're doing things together, they all love each other. But I'm glad you have these programs in place, because I know no matter how great a school system we are, there are kids that get lost, and I'm so glad you're doing this. Do you feel, most of you, if not all of you, were in the room for that graduation, and again, I didn't have a student this year in the graduation, but you get the same message almost every year. The kids that are excelling, I think, whether it's in sports or education or culinary or whatever it is, they all get along great, and they seem to have confidence, and which is great. But how do you feel? Is that unanimous across the board, or is it a little bit of a hyperbole when the students get up there and say, we all love each other, and we all know each other, and we're all there to support each other? So is there, we're not this
again,
magical place.
I can speak to this year with the morning meetings of Responsive Classroom. Two components of the response, so there's 4 components. The teachers would do the components every single morning meeting. They don't skip a component. And two of the components is a child will greet someone every single day and be greeted every single day. So I can at least speak to the elementary school. Every child says hello and gets a hello in some form every day walking through our school.
Great, and it all starts down there in the primary school and elementary school, and it becomes what we witnessed on graduation day, so.
In my response to that is, I mean, ultimately, that is our goal. Our goal is to effectively engage every student in the school in some way, academically, athletically, through the arts. Is that we always reach 100%. It's a high level to reach 100%. But I think we do a good job of identifying students who are not engaged and giving them opportunities to be engaged and encouraging them to engage, whether through guidance, through individual meetings with administration, through the work of individual teachers. I think we're doing that at all levels with the goal of reaching the highest possible rate of success that we can reach.
Excellent. So thank you all for doing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on, I love it. This is what it's all about.
I want to add two things. One, you mentioned Jared Lett,
Yeah.
which reminded me of the World of Difference program we've this year, or the last 2 years we've been working on that. And we've had 30 high school peer leaders who have been teaching these lessons and really connecting with 7th and 8th grade students. They've taught 8 one-hour lessons this year. They've been really committed to that program. And I think that they have, I hear from the high school peer leaders all the time. Again, Jared is a really strong peer leader. But the kids have made connections, middle school kids have made connections and reached out to them beyond the classroom and beyond those lessons. So we're trying. Do we reach 100%? No, but we're really trying to. And then your question, if it's a magical place, you could have seen the kids dancing together, the 8th graders at the Final Fling Friday night. It was really something to see all of those kids really reunite and have a fabulous, fabulous time dancing. All of them. It was just beautiful. So yes, it was
I
magical.
love it. Thank you for that. Ms. Maya, sister?
And just the entire school committee, one of the things that we've been working at the elementary school, as you all know, we have approximately 800 children. That's a large school. So many of the schools that we visited, there are 200, 220, 300. We have a large school. So what I've been working really hard with all the administrators and all of the entire faculty and staff is we want to create the feeling of a small school, it's a large school with that small school feeling. And so we do that through the responsive classroom. We do that through events. You're going to hear more in when we talk about our school improvement plan later on this evening about the additional events that we want to have to build community. We're going to be talking about next week with the building committee about events that will bring the community to a new school. We're trying to do that more and more with our current school just because we're trying to get the children to get to know each other even more. It's not uncommon at the elementary school for a child to go through 5th grade and maybe not know some of the kids. That grows and that develops as they continue to attend events and sports and the middle school and the high school. But I really have to say I agree with everything Mrs. Agashi said. And she wasn't here last year to see and to feel the data. She's looked at the data, but the difference this year with regard to our school culture and the climate and the children and their level of happiness, and sometimes they just don't want to go home. They're still, 3 o'clock, they're there, and they're not in any hurry. They're enjoying school, and absolutely the referrals are down to half. And we will be presenting the data to our faculty next Monday, and then we'd love to share that with you. But this is Weston was just asking me about the school year, and I said it's been a great school year. It's been fabulous for the children and for the educators, and that community feeling is alive.
Great. Thank you all for your insight. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So are there any other questions about family and community? And then our last goal is professional culture, and to revise and implement policies and procedures in order to emphasize reflective practices, high standards, effective communication, continuous learning, which are measured by the implementation of appropriate policies, procedures, teacher evaluation tools, administrative evaluation tools. The New England Association of New England Association of the Education of Young Children, NIAC accreditation, our NEASC accreditation at the high school, the school-wide positive behavior intervention supports and conflict resolution. I'd just like to point out that we do a lot, but that means we have to teach our teachers a lot. That we have a core set of professional development that every single teacher who joins us, no matter what point in their career, gets this specific professional development so that everyone in the building is pulling in the same direction. That whether it's social or academic skills, we all have the same thing. That's another thing that was noticed by the visiting team from DESE, is that rarely does a school focus so intently on a core set of skills that they want an entire district of teachers to have. So we've worked very hard to provide that. Almost 100% of it is grant funded. We have some money in the budget, but not enough to do what we do. So we have funded this with the grants. Last week we got a grant from Make Peace, which we'll accept in August when we get the official money. But they asked me to speak because we have done so much with the money they've given us. So that was another good thing that happened for us. So do you see anything in here that you might have questions about in the professional culture?
Every time we come to this, Liz, I always think, I always say that I think you do a phenomenal job with professional development and making sure that that variety is there. And on paper, I think it looks fantastic. I think what would be nice maybe every now and then is to maybe hear from some of the teachers about how they feel, because I know when it's a restrictive process, you feel confined. But from the way this looks, everybody has a great opportunity to get into whatever they need to get into, and you guys really set that up well. And I just think it might be nice to hear how some of them feel about it and hear some of their feedback on the process.
We can definitely bring teachers to talk about it, but there are non-restrictive programs, like teachers as scholars, they can just take any course they want.
Right.
And we also have a lot of money, for Carver, $40,000 in our course reimbursement. And so that's for people to grow in whatever specific ways that they want. And we have dozens of teachers who pick their own courses. So I think it's a little bit of a balance, with the prescriptive ones. But we had teachers as scholars come 2 years ago, those teachers, so we can arrange for that in the fall sometime to have teachers talk about their entry-level professional development as well as their ongoing professional.
It'd be just nice to hear from their perspective a little bit,
Yeah.
Thanks.
So unless you have any questions, this is the 2015 District Improvement Plan. Of course, everything has an acronym. It's the DIP. And then we'll move on to the SIPs, School Improvement Plans, where it all starts. So we'll start with elementary.
So good evening, everyone. Ruby Maestas, the elementary school principal. Again, as Liz just mentioned, this is the time of year that we present our school improvement plan, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. I know we've done this before, but for all the folks that haven't heard this, basically the school improvement plan is a set of goals that guides us at the elementary school. It's something that we look at every month, and we do that with our school council. We do that at the beginning of the school year. We review this with our faculty, and then we revisit the school improvement plan every month. So who creates this document? This document is created by the school council, and the school council is comprised of parents and faculty. We do have a parent here with us tonight, Mrs. Cheryl Weston. She's back there. Hello, Cheryl. She has been on our school council for 2 years. We have another parent, Mrs. Bree Wall, who was unable to be here tonight. Mrs. Julie Kennedy, she was unable to be here tonight as well. We have teachers, Mrs. Tish Leatherby, she's a first grade teacher. Mrs. Pam Copeland, she's a special education teacher in 5th grade. And myself. So this is the team of parents and educators that comprise the school council. Parent members can be on the council from 1 to 3 years. And basically the way it works is they communicate their interest, and ballots are sent out by our PTO at the beginning of the year. The parent community then has the opportunity to vote, and they submit their votes through ballots, and the PTO counts the votes. And that's sort of how it works. So the school council meets monthly. It's a public meeting. The minutes are kept. Mrs. Copeland happened to be the secretary this past year. And it's a great process. It's a process that I have to say, there are several other members that are here with me tonight that really helped to make this work. Mrs. Kelly, she's back there, Mrs. Foley, Mrs. Taylor, and Mrs. Agashi. So I'd like to take a minute to thank everyone for all of their hard work in helping to build the school improvement plan. And I also wanted to share with you that there are opportunities for us to invite additional members to come and present. So for example, it is common for us to invite a faculty member, for example, that has some information to share with us. This year we had Mrs. Bartlett, who is one of our school adjustment counselors. She came to present some information on Botvin life skills. We've talked to you quite a bit about that. It's a drug awareness program for children starting in 3rd grade, primarily talk about self-esteem. So Mrs. Bartlett was able to share with the council what it looked like, how it all started, and our plans. And so much, and everything that we talk about at the council is in our school improvement plan. So again, I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone, and we will get into the school improvement plan. All right, so at this time, I'm going to call Mrs. Michelle Taylor and Mrs. Jen Kelly, because section 1, the very first goal, instructional leadership goal, Liz was talking about this earlier. It's the most involved piece. It's the most involved section because it's all about instruction. It's all about what we do. So this is Mrs. Kelly and Mrs. Taylor live instructional leadership goal number 1 every single minute of the day. So they're going to collaborate together as we go through this.
Okay. So I don't want to read it to you verbatim, so I'll just we're going to just alternate and we will talk about each element. Through our RTI model, we have a sort of commitment to ensuring that all students receive targeted interventions based on data. And in order to do that, we utilize the University of Oregon Stibbles data system to track all of our data and print reports to help us interpret the data effectively and efficiently. And by doing so, we're able to measure the effectiveness of our programs and of our instruction.
And with our tiered model of intervention that we have, we use that data to develop instruction that really meets the needs of each of our individual students based on the data, and provide that small group instruction in small groups outside of the classroom, and in addition to in the classroom. For example, during math workshop, we use the workshop model to provide small group instruction in the classroom to differentiate our instruction.
That's an important one, I think, too, when we're looking at the design of the new school and a lot of the requirements that we're talking about. So I'm glad you guys came up. Is there anything else, like, with how that's going? And, I mean, could you expand on that a little bit? Because I think that's going to be a really big point as we move forward.
Sure. So right now, I think we've identified at any given time there can be 28 small groups running simultaneously between reading and math. So right now, in a math classroom, for example, you will see 3 to 4 small groups groups happening at the same time. One is a teacher-led station, and the other groups are either independently working or collaboratively working or working on a game that's focused at their level. In addition to that, there are also interventionists who pull out the students to provide Tier 2 support for those struggling students who might not be able to work independently as efficiently, so they're working in a small group outside of the classroom. So that is the same for reading and math. So as you can imagine, our schedule, K through 5, there are many small groups happening throughout the day.
So while that's happening in math, in a different grade level, for example, we'll take first grade, there could be 14 small groups running simultaneously. The smallest groups have 2 to 3 students, and the largest groups might have about 14 to 16 students. Every classroom teacher, so all 6th grade level classroom teachers, become reading interventionists for a 45-minute intervention block every day, and we flood the grade level with support staff. So the 4 full-time reading specialists, as well as all the Title I staff and any available special education staff, all support struggling students by providing data-based, targeted, skill-specific interventions.
So again, is it the same with the math things? That's what I was going to ask, where those interventionalists come from, the same concept used?
Sure, we just don't have as many.
Right.
So right now we have 4 interventionists that are supporting in addition to the special ed teacher, so 5 teachers in addition to the 6 classroom teachers. So we don't have as many reading staff, as much as reading staff, but that is the case.
And that's sort of a big shift for teachers, because the structure of it's really different than what most are probably used to. Is that going well? Is there a good connection to it? Are they starting to feel and see the differences?
Absolutely. So this is our 2nd year that we've implemented the workshop model in math, and all of our teachers, if you walk into a classroom at any given day, you're going to see a small 15-minute mini lesson where the core concept is addressed, and then the kids really just break off and take ownership of their learning. So it's been a transition for teachers. We're still working on it. The classroom management is one aspect of it, and then there's the differentiation piece of the instruction. So we're working to help teachers, give them the professional development, and give them the skills and the tools that they need to be able to manage it, as well as deliver the best instruction that they need for those kids.
Awesome, thank you.
So Michelle, why don't you say, we went to another meeting with the MSBA, and Michelle went with us because this is driving the design of our building. And what did the guy from DESE say to you?
It was a very exciting day. We got to present our education plan, and the MSBA representative from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education said that this was not only the strongest education plan he's ever read, but that it was clear and evident that we don't just say we do RTI, that we know, understand, and truly implement RTI the way that it was meant to be implemented. So it was a great compliment. I think we all walked away feeling really proud. So.
And for literacy, this is the 10th year. You know, it's the workshop model is new for. We did some interventions before the workshop model, and the teachers independently, almost everyone came to a math academy week in the summer, the year we implemented it. So, and we're doing another math day this summer. So, they're getting a lot of training.
Excellent.
And the supplies they need to do it.
Yes.
And the support from these great people.
That's tier 1, 2.
So we've already talked a little bit about professional development and about how it is somewhat prescriptive, but that's what this next action step really speaks to, is creating a consistent knowledge base and a common language among teachers. The purpose is so that we can align instructional strategies and routines for cohesive content delivery vertically from K through grade 5 or 6. So that's why we use the Reading Street program, that's why we use the Empowering Writers program, that's why we have 100% of staff trained in these programs, so that when a student goes on to the next grade level, they're familiar with the instructional terminology, and we're sort of wasting less time. So,
And that's the same for math too. This year, we've used Everyday Math for about 8 years now, but this year we adopted the Everyday Math 4 curriculum, K through 2. Next year we'll be using Everyday Math 4 in grades 3 through 5 to build that consistent knowledge. And the upgrade was just embedding some of the Common Core standards that were not found in the previous editions of Everyday Math. So there's more application, and the standards of mathematical practice are embedded more into the curriculum to give our teachers the curriculum that they need. Sure. So our next step is the conduct of professional learning communities, and this has been a really great initiative in our school. Our PLCs meet monthly, if not more, and we work with the PLCs, Michelle and I, to analyze student data. So we hold beginning of the year, middle of the year data meetings for literacy and math, where we meet as a grade level and look at all of the data, but our PLCs are looking at individual classroom data throughout the year. So they're taking unit assessments, benchmark assessments, common assessments, and they're looking at it on a monthly basis to make instructional decisions for their students. And this has really improved the type of instruction they're giving, as well as the collaboration with each other. They're able to identify strengths and weaknesses on their team, and they're able to kind of give each other support in different activities that they're working on, different programs that they're trying to instruct. So it's really been effective in the interventions for ELA and math.
And when Jen and I facilitate the data meetings, we try to run them in that same sort of PLC model. So teachers are led through a data analysis protocol, and then we try to make model sort of decision making based on data. We did it today with grade 2 at writing data meetings. We spent an entire day analyzing student writing data and then aligning our plan for next year with the 4 standards for educator effectiveness.
And just one more piece on the PLC. So this completes a second year of the professional learning community model at the elementary school. One of the things that has been very noticeable is the teachers are becoming, many teachers have been very reflective, but now what's happening is they're really reaching out to each other. They are supporting each other even more. They're coming into each other's classrooms for additional coaching or sharing feedback. So it's just been a very collaborative model that they've embraced, and they love it.
The next action step discusses our efforts to align our local curricula to the 2011 Massachusetts frameworks. We do that through several different vehicles. One is by purchasing updated curriculum materials, but also we have to spend time with the teachers really unpacking the standards and aligning them to our grade level benchmarks. So that's sort of an ongoing process. That's something you're never really done with. You have to continuously get familiar and comfortable with the standards and make sure that the standards inform our instruction, our curriculum, and our assessments. Sure. Okay. The next action step is all about strengthening our implementation of a K through 5 core writing program. We adopted the Empowering Writers program several years ago now, and we don't just use that sort of on its own. We also integrate elements from the Reading Street writing and keys to literacy. So the goal is that, again, 100% of staff are trained in the methodology and the research behind our writing programs, and that students are, obviously seeing the benefit of that. So that's ongoing. It's going to continue next year when we do implement the 2013 version of Reading Street. That was something we discussed at length today with the grade 2 team. Our teachers at every grade level, through their PLCs, develop a writing plan, and that helps to inform a curriculum map and a scope and sequence. And we're constantly collecting data on the efficacy of the instruction and the programs that we use.
So that's the first thing.
All right, so the next, any questions about standard one?
I don't have any questions, but because your work is so evidently top-notch, and after our presentation at the MSBA, the Boston Society of Architects has invited us to present, I just found that out this morning, on how to inform their future designs of schools based on our 10-year model. So
Nicely done.
it's details at 11, we'll talk about that. But that's really,
That's great.
and Mary Bork, who's the superintendent of Chelsea, who were on the same pathway as us for the same amount of time for 10 years. So it'll be Carver and Chelsea.
Great. Great.
Just a quick point on that, because there is a lot of talk about the Common Core, and everybody brings up that topic all the time. But I think what you guys make clear is that, the standards are not your curriculum. You take the standards, and that's what you base your curriculum on. But as a district, you determine what your curriculum is above and beyond. And I think that you guys do a really good job doing that, and it's organized really well. And I think people need to really understand that it's not we're just taking this book that the state gives us, and this is it, and this is all we teach. But that's just the basis for what you base your curriculum on, and I appreciate the work you do in doing that, so thank you.
I think we work really collaboratively and really effectively to collect data, and I think it's the data that drives that curriculum. So obviously there are standards for achievement, and we're always trying to reach those standards. We want 100% of our students to reach those achievement standards. So we take our data, and that is how we decide which of the standards we need to focus our efforts and attention on, and that's how we determine what will be taught each day in our classrooms. Everything we do is based on data.
And our professional development, based on how we choose our professional development is based on really what the data shows, and if there's a weakness area that we're noticing kids are struggling, we get the PD in to support those kids. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next section is management and operations, and this is really all about developing and executing effective plans, procedures, and routines to address a full range of safety, health, emotional, and social needs for our students. So a big part of what I'm going to talk about in this section is all about PBIS, which is sort of the umbrella, positive behavior intervention and supports, which we've talked about for the last several years. But I'm also going to focus more on responsive classroom. That's the other piece that we brought in this last year to assist us and to help give us more structure around PBIS. So again, the first one is again establishing common and clear expectations that everyone will implement, and a big part of that really is training. So we spent a good deal of time last year in August training most of the teachers that were able to come during the summer, because as you can imagine, we have to do a lot of training in August, and it's a credit to our teachers that so many of them will stop what they're doing in a hot summer day in August and come to get the training. It's great. And what we're looking at, the anticipated outcome, is a stronger sense of community, which again, we'll be talking more about that data when we have that for you, to give you sort of the numbers and what that looks like. The next section is, again, we're increasing our decisions and our database decisions. So we have a PBIS team. This year, Mrs. Agashi is heading up that team. It's a team of faculty members, school adjustment counselors, school psychologists, teachers, allied arts folks who meet regularly to look at the data and to adjust interventions and to plan some supports, second tier and third tier supports, and a lot of that tier support. So our students are getting social skill instruction during our allied arts classes. And then when the data indicates that there are children who are not responding and that are struggling, our school adjustment counselors will have small pull-out support groups. And so that's that tier 2. And then the tier 3 for behavior will be one-on-one when that is needed. So we are refining that process, and we actually just a couple weeks ago started to talk about having some data meetings to help us really look closely at PBIS and refine this process even more. But again, the idea here is supporting students so that emotionally and behaviorally they're feeling secure, so that they can be open and available for the academic learning that needs to take place. One of the other things that the PBIS team works on, as I had mentioned earlier, is planning some fun things. So you'll be hearing more about school-wide assemblies. This year we did assemblies in term 1, term 2, and then we'll have another assembly at the end of the year. And it's to recognize caught being good, it's to recognize perfect attendance, it's to recognize above and beyond the positive piece. We've had Best of the Bunch brunch. We're looking at next year and actually trying to put in place at the end of this year Best of the Bunch brunch, where we can now invite our families as well. So it's a very exciting time for us. The next page, on page 13, the action step is the PBIS staff will work together to inform families and communities regarding our initiative. We have parent teaching we do at the open house each September. We share information at that point with our families. We provide resources. We do a PTO meeting in the fall to share information. This last year we did the responsive classroom morning meeting. We actually had a morning meeting at one evening PTO meeting so that parents and families could get an idea of what their students were experiencing every morning. So we'll do that again.
Before you get off that topic, can you just tell us a little bit more about what that does look like?
Responsive classroom, the morning meeting. So every morning we have a section in our schedule. It's about 20 to 25 minutes, and that varies depending on a teacher, where students will come into the classroom. They get ready for their day. They have to, take care of their lunch, put their things away. There may be a couple of items that they have to take care of. And then we have Pledge of Allegiance, and that is a school-wide Pledge of Allegiance that's student-led, comes over the intercom, and that takes place usually right around 8:24, 8:25. And then right after that, when that's done, that's the signal to everyone that morning meeting is ready to start. So ideally, children are now sitting at the rug in the center, in a circle, and there is a morning meeting message in every classroom. And the message is, it's up to the teacher. It could be, today we're going to have our first day of science. And it may be a graph or a question that the teacher posed to the children about a science question to prepare them for the day, or it could be a math question, or it could even be, today we're going to take park. We're going to talk about it for a couple minutes. So it's a message that's going to engage them about their day and get them ready. And that's in every single classroom. So as Mrs. Agashi had said earlier, there are 4 components to the morning meeting, and they have to be done pretty much they do have to be done in order. And so it's a greeting, a sharing, an activity, and the morning message. And it goes in that sequence. And it can be 10 minutes, sometimes it can be 20 minutes. Obviously, greeting each other every morning for, every day, you'd want, as a teacher, you'd want to add a little bit of variety to that. So, you make it fun. And so, after the greeting component, and as you can imagine, in kindergarten it would take a little bit longer to get through this, then children participate in a sharing, and it's teacher-led. So a teacher may decide that what they want to do for the month is they want to share a story and open that up so that all children have an opportunity to share a story that they read the night before. But there's flexibility to that. And so then the next part is an activity, and it can be a quick activity. It could be even an energizer where the whole group stands up and does a fun song that engages them for the day. Or it could even be spelling. They all spell words together. And then their morning message, and then they break out into their next activity. Thank you. You're welcome.
Ruby, just a recommendation on that maybe, if the PTO is willing to do that next year and you show that to them, maybe you might want to videotape that and throw that up on the website so those that don't have the accessibility to get there could see that and see what it's like and get a view of it that way.
Absolutely, we'll do it.
One of the things in the new building is we will have a multi-purpose room adjacent to the cafeteria, which will give us a space to gather whole grade levels together, and so the teachers will have a choice of having a kindergarten morning meeting or a 5th grade morning meeting, so they can socialize with each other across the classes too, which we don't have the space for now. All the space is taken up.
All right, so on the very bottom of page 13, again, that's all about professional development. What we will be doing, we will be training all of the new teachers. As Liz mentioned, we've had a few folks that we've hired, and we are almost done hiring all the staff that we need for the year. So all of those folks will be provided with the training in August. And then moving on to family and community engagement, standard 3. Now this section combines math, literacy, PBIS. And again, as I had mentioned earlier, what we're looking for here is we're looking to increase school and family communication about the academic, the social emotional, and the behavioral expectations for all of our children. So what our plan is to continue to hold parent and community programs to inform and inspire literacy. We'll continue with our preschool pajama party. We just completed the second annual pajama party. Thank you to Mrs. Foley and an entire team of kindergarten teachers and administrators to help support that. I think we had, how many students, Mrs. Foley?
I think there were probably about 40s for that. It was the other one.
Right. Okay, so our preschool pajama party, we had Big Ryan read a story to the children, and parents had a presentation by Dr. Jean Fahey. The parent presentation was well attended. We had, I believe there were about 50 parents in the IMC with me and Dr. Fahey. She did an exceptional job just talking about preparing your child for kindergarten and for entry into school. And really the focus, just to summarize, her big focus was all about literacy and supporting your child with literacy through fun, easy activities. So it's all about reading to your children. We will continue with our summer reading initiative, summer book bingo. We're going to keep working on our books for babies. This year we didn't quite get that off the ground, but we will continue to work at that. Our math night, Hooray for K, was one of the events that Mrs. Foley just mentioned. We ended up having 74 families RSVP and about 94 children that actually showed up that night. So it was a very enjoyable night. The children came to the elementary school. They had an opportunity to go to the cafeteria and have pizza and go through the lunch line as if they were having lunch and sit at the tables and have pizza and vegetables and fruit. And then after that we had crafts for the children. All the while, parents had received a presentation about kindergarten and preparation and what a typical day at the elementary school kindergarten program looks like. And then parents were divided into 4 or 5 groups, and they went to hear information from Mrs. Kelly on math, Mrs. Taylor on literacy, Mrs. Thayer and the speech, or Mrs. Mallory gave them some information on physical therapy and occupational therapy and their role in the school. We had the school psychologist, Mrs. Hines, and the school adjustment counselor. Everyone was there to give some tidbits of information in 20-minute sessions. We also had a school bus there, so the children were able to get on the school bus and get a little idea of what it's like to sit on the school bus. So it was a very exciting night. It was very successful. But the bottom line of family and community engagement is we're committed to doing as much as we can, everything that we can, going above and beyond to get our parents to come in and work with us, because we know for our children to succeed, we all need to do this together. Any questions about Standard 3? All right, so for Standard 4, Mrs. Foley is going to come over to assist. She's our early childhood coordinator, and she has been immersed in preparation for NIAC, so this is fresh in her mind. She spent the last 3 weeks, night and day, working on NIAC, right, Mrs. Foley?
Yeah. It's a little too fresh in my mind, actually. So in 2011, we were accredited by NAEYC for our kindergarten program. I think that was the first time we had done it for kindergarten. Years ago, we were accredited in the preschool. But because we're a full-day kindergarten grant recipient, it is something that is required of those who receive those ever-dwindling funds. So it is now, once again, time for us to go through that accreditation process. We began in the fall, and we're waiting for our site visit. So our goal here, our action step, improving our full-day kindergarten program using the standards established by NAEYC, continues. And even once we go through this process and hopefully are reaccredited, it doesn't end there. So we need to keep looking at those NAEYC standards, making sure that we're in alignment with them, and we're giving our children the best program that we can. One of the things I will tell you is that the school committee policy reference manual has become my best friend, and I probably know the policies inside and out. It's a great resource for me. The next one is implementing the Massachusetts Kindergarten Entry Assessment using Teaching Strategies Gold. This was another mandate from the state, again, because we are a full-day kindergarten grant recipient. We were given an option of hopping on board at a time of our choosing, or we would be told at some point in time when we were to hop. So we opted to choose, and we started this process last year in kindergarten. It is an assessment tool that we use to take a baseline measurement of students when they come into kindergarten during the first 6 to 8 weeks of school, and then we look at it again during the last 6 to 8 weeks of school, and we're really looking at student growth. In the beginning of the year, it's very helpful to the kindergarten teachers because students come in with a whole different set of skills, each and every one different, and so it helps give them some preliminary data so that they can differentiate their instruction. And toward the end of the year, it gives them additional information, as I said, about growth. The state looks at information big picture. They don't look at teachers, they don't look at individual students, they look at things globally, and their goal is to find out whether or not, well, first of all, how effective kindergarten programs are, but also what they can do for the early learners, preschool programs and things like that, and hopefully at some point in time direct funds in that way. So every year we provide professional development for the staff members, whether they be the teachers or the paraprofessionals, in helping conduct these assessments. The next one is to improve our preschool program using the standards established by the Quality Rating and Improvement System. We started this a couple of years ago. Again, this is an ongoing process. We achieved level 1, and we are working toward level 2. My goal this year was to get to that point, and I'm hoping we still will. But with NAEYC, it's been quite a challenge to get that done. But the preschool teachers have been working with me. We are plotting ahead, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll have accomplished that. Next year we'll look forward to moving into level 3.
In this case, the higher you go, the better the rating.
Yes. Oh, one thing I did not mention was for NAEYC, we decided to add our preschool to that for this year. So the preschool teachers, as well as Mrs. Hines, who's been helping out in that area, and all of the kindergarten teachers have really been putting in a lot of effort. And I want to thank them for all the work that they've done. It is hard work. They've been using their professional development time to do that. I also want to recognize some people here for their help as well. Anne-Marie Matrano has provided information. Peter Gray has provided information. Dave Siedentov has provided information and done a lot of work for facilities for specific things that I needed to have done. So it's really been a group effort. I know Mrs. Kelly's provided some information and Mrs. Taylor, so hours of work. And then the last thing is for Teaching Strategies Gold. We're not required to implement it in the preschool, but it is something that we started to do, and we'd like to move toward full implementation. It is difficult, a little more difficult in the preschool because we have so many children coming in throughout the year. You kind of miss that first 6 weeks of school, so it does get a little challenging, but they've done a great job so far. So, any questions?
I know this takes an enormous amount of time, but it sets the agenda for next year. And I think it's really important that the school and school committee know exactly what's been planned. So thank you for all your time and efforts, and we'll go to Scott for the middle high school.
Thanks for a great summer.
Good evening again. So I'd like to first recognize the members of the Carver High School School Improvement Council. Two of those members are here this evening. Parent Stephen Hayward, who is here, and also teacher Mary Willett, who is here. The other members of the School Improvement Council were Jeff Gray as a parent, Deborah Kennedy as a parent, Joanne Pushkar as a parent, Don Podowski as a parent. Teachers were Pam Howell, Andrea Mooney, Mary, and 3 students, Megan Giles, Bailey Magno, and we've already mentioned him a few times this evening, Jared Ouellette. We're all representatives of the School Improvement Council this year. What I've decided to do in terms of talking about the school improvement plan is really talk about themes of school improvement. So I've outlined 5 themes, so I'm not going to go through each goal individually and talk about each goal individually. I'll talk about the themes globally, and then the goals all connect back to one of those themes, and any individual question you'd like to ask me about any specific goal, I'd be more than willing to discuss. So the first theme falls under the concept of aligning our curriculum to the 2011 Massachusetts frameworks, or the Common Core. Sometimes people say not they're interchangeable, but I know we've had that discussion of Common Core versus 2011 Massachusetts frameworks. So that is an ongoing process, a process that we've been involved in for a couple of years, and that we'll continue going into next year. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, especially at the middle high school level. The focus really comes back to this concept of thinking skills. That ultimately, what aligning to those standards means is thinking about how we're going to ask students to make their thinking evident, and how we're going to challenge our students to think critically through a variety of content areas. Now, the greatest change in terms of actual curriculum, what's being taught, is in mathematics. So in math, there has been what people term a pushing down of topics. So, for example, 8th grade Algebra 1, what used to be 8th grade Algebra 1 before the 2011 standards, is quite different than what Algebra 1 is now for 8th grade. So 8th grade Algebra 1 now actually would include what people in the past would have called a lot of Algebra 2 topics. Algebra 2 actually includes what people in the past would have considered a lot of pre-calculus topics. pre-calculus has some calculus topics. So that whole concept of the topics have been pushed down. The concept being that the ultimate goal would that every student would have the opportunity to access or take a calculus course in high school. Doesn't mean that every student does take a calculus course. It doesn't mean that every student's required to take a calculus course. The concept is which prepares students so that everyone might or have the opportunity to take a calculus course as a senior in high school. So that's led to this kind of pushing down of topics. So when you're actually looking at the actual curriculum, the curriculum has changed in math. And we've aligned to the new standards, and we began teaching them this year. And as we go forward, we're going to be looking at those standards to make sure that we're where we are. Some of our purchases that have been supported by the school committee was like, for example, we purchased a new series for our 8th grade textbooks for math called Big Ideas. And the Big Ideas textbook for grade 8 for Algebra 1 is aligned to the 2011 Massachusetts Frameworks for Math. So math is where there's the most direct actual change in where topics are taught. Otherwise, aligning really is about this whole concept of critical thinking skills. So I know when we've talked about it a little bit, if you're looking at English, it's not like the novels that we're teaching in English in our high school courses are the different novels. We're not changing the content. We're changing or thinking about how are we asking students to think about that content. So what does that mean? And really, it means in English, but it also could be in science, it could be in social studies. It's really about reading and using information across all curriculum areas and reading and writing in all curriculum areas. So it's using maybe some more informational texts in history, science, and maybe in English. It's talking about increasing text complexity, asking students to read some more challenging texts. It's about asking students to compare and contrast texts. Take two pieces of information, take two articles and glean something from the two articles versus just read and comprehend one article. That's a higher level skill to have to look at two articles, compare and contrast them, and then almost maybe create something new out of it. Or develop an idea based on those two articles. I know in the English part they talk a lot about T, which is looking at the topic, evidence that supports your topic, and then analysis as you're writing. So that's a focus throughout the whole English department. From grade 6 up through senior English classes, you'll hear or you'll see T written on teachers' boards. I saw it in Mrs. Perkins' board as I walked through last week. I think it was a junior, senior English elective. That was probably AP, but I don't know if it was directly tied to AP. I won't ask you that question right now. But I saw it on the board. And then you could go into a 6th grade classroom and see the concept of T, this whole concept of, that's for writing skills. What's your topic? What's your evidence that you can pull from literature? What's your evidence you can pull from the informational text to support your argument, and then how you're analyzing those things. So a lot of the alignment concept really is for us is how are we thinking or how are we asking students to think about the content that we teach, which really supports our school's global skills in terms of being 21st century learners of reading effectively, writing effectively, using information ethically and critically. This whole concept supports what I think we've been doing as a school. So when you say align to the 21st century Massachusetts frameworks, it's not that those frameworks have asked us to do new content. It's asked us to really think about how we ask students to think about that content. And that's an ongoing process. That's happening all the time, and that's ongoing into next year. So you'll see some things specifically in the plan that tie to that. So that's one theme. A second theme is integration of technology into instruction. So our building in the last 2 years has had an influx of technology, and we've talked about this at school committee many times in terms of the wireless network, the iPads, the introduction of the Google Suite this year. So this year we've really gone Google, and I think you're going to see us go more Google if that's something that can happen. If that's really, I don't know if that's a real phrase, but I'll say it, and I think you'll see that happen more next year. So there's specific things in the school improvement plan about professional development around integration of technology, and then also around the concept of what are we doing to challenge students to think critically and analyze text, back to number 1, using technology. How are we using technology as a formative assessment tool to measure what students know, and how are we using technology to increase differentiation. So I think that's an area where we still need to continue to improve. We need to look at how we can really meet the needs of all students through the differentiation of instruction that's tailored at student-specific levels. I think technology is one tool that can be used to do that. There's many that can be, but I think you can use technology to do that. And my sense is, and from our discussions, even at the school committee level, building level, district level, I think we're going to see a huge change in technology over the next couple of years within the district, because things are always evolving, things are always changing, and so I feel like we're in a much different place than we were 2 years ago. And I think it'd be really interesting to see us 3 years out in the future of where we're going to be. And I think so that's a focus of what we need to think about as a school as we go forward in school improvement. So third theme ties back to the implementation of our new schedule this year. This year we implemented a new schedule called the Crusader Period and Common Planning Time. As a result of that schedule, 70% of teachers, when surveyed, said that they collaborated more often and more effectively as a result of Common Planning Time. But there were still some concerns about how the schedule was implemented. The concerns focused in 3 areas, and we're going to address all 3 of those areas next year, and then we're going to evaluate where we are with this schedule change and use of common planning by teachers, common planning time by teachers. So the 3 areas of concern were: 1, we didn't feel like the special education staff was included enough in the common planning. So we had this common planning time, but the special ed teachers weren't getting enough time to work with the regular ed teachers that they were working with in the classroom. And that was one of our goals, but it was a goal that wasn't achieved. So we're going to try and do a couple things a little bit differently next year to see if we can achieve that goal. The second one is we did offer, for scheduling reasons, we did offer some classes during that Crusader block. And the Crusader block was supposed to be a time where everyone was available. And the reality is the more courses you offer during that period, the less people are available to commonly plan, and they're pulled from it a little bit. As we've built the master schedule this year, I've really been able to keep, we've really been able to keep a lot of classes out of that period. So there are fewer classes that are going to be taught. There's still a couple, but fewer. So that will get more people involved. The third concern was the 6th grade teachers, because their team schedule was a little bit different. They had common planning time with their team of 6th grade teachers, but they didn't have common planning time with their department. So the 6th grade social studies teachers didn't have the opportunity to work with the other social studies teachers in the building. So we've made a little change that's going to allow us to do that next year. So the 6th grade teachers are going to be allowed to have some collaborative time departmentally as well with their 6th grade team. So those were 3 concerns that were raised by the faculty as we surveyed and we talked about this. We had a faculty meeting, I believe it was March, if I remember correctly, that was specifically dedicated to this concept of, okay, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, how have we done with this Crusader period? What concerns do people have that we can try to address next year? And those were the 3 big concerns that have come up. And so we're going to try to address some of those things, and then we're going to reevaluate again and make the determination, are we using the common planning time effectively? The last thing on that, which really wasn't one of the big 3 themes, so I guess I probably shouldn't say, but we'll put it in, is some teachers requested some more flexibility. They want to have the opportunity to maybe, right now it's really been departmental, so the common planning time has been the math teachers work with the math teachers, English teachers with the English teachers. Some people have said, I'd love to have the opportunity to commonly plan with someone outside of my subject area. So we're going to try to build in some more flexibility to allow teachers to be able to do that within that schedule. So there's a couple things in the school improvement plan that tie back to this concept of the Crusader period and common planning time. The 4th theme, and there are 5, so the 4th theme is continuation of the PBIS initiative, which Ruby spoke about a lot, and we've already talked about a little bit this evening, and tied that into a theme in terms of building school pride. So we're always looking to do things within the building that increases participation, increases engagement, increases pride of students in the school, and supports them in a positive way. So this year we did a lot through PBIS. We created posters for expected behavior for hallways, cafeteria, the auditorium, classrooms. So if you go to any of those places in the building, I don't know if you've seen those signs around the hallway of these, and they're all phrased positively. What are positive behaviors? What's a positive way to behave in the auditorium? And for Crusader Pride, Christine will start the Crusader Pride, Ms. Cabral will start the Crusader Pride Assembly with reminding students these are positive expected behaviors. So it's not hey, don't do this. It's, hey, this is what you should do. This is what you should be doing during this assembly. And then we've done a lot of positive reinforcements, which will continue into next year. This year we did a thing called Crusader Cash, where teachers were able to give cash out to students, not real cash, cash that was created by Tony Root. Yeah, it was popular as real cash, created by Tony Rhoda. It was fake Carver cash that teachers could give out to students, then students could turn that cash in for some drawings and some prizes. We did Crusader Ticket, which is similar. Teachers got tickets they could pass out to students where they got an ice cream sundae party if they received a ticket. And there's a lot of those things that are ongoing. And the PBIS team meets once a month, and they come up with different ideas for positive reinforcement. But they're all tied back to that concept of what can we do to positively reinforce the school motto of be respectful, be responsible, be the best you can be. And I feel like each year that the motto is growing. The motto is taking hold in the school in terms of people really thinking about it and thinking about how they approach each other. And that all ties into school pride. Now, we've done other things with school pride that we want to continue. We added an honorable breakfast at the high school level. We've always have Crusader Pride Awards assemblies. We have our 9 through 11 academic awards this week. The school store has really taken off. The school store has become a really popular thing. It's selling a lot of items. They've been very successful. So we're going to look to expand the school store next year in terms of its offerings. We've talked about the letter jacket for a couple of years. So now we're going to put the school store on trying to get the concept of the letter jacket going within the school again. But all these things follow this concept of PBIS and increasing school pride. And then the last theme is going to number 5 is Carver Cares, mobilizing the community, engaging the community in that issue of substance abuse. And we're attacking that in many ways. What we've done the curriculum pieces. We've added the middle school health teacher, and there's curriculum pieces around instruction on substances at the middle school level, and there always has been at the high school level in 9th and 10th grade health. We're adding the SRO next year, which the community supported, which we thank them for that. The school committee supported. So Freddie Mello will be our school resource officer next year, who will be full-time working within the districts, both at the elementary and the middle high school level. He's already been doing that part-time this year, and I've already sensed the change in terms of the support from the police and Officer Mello on a range of issues. And I really think the students and the parents really see it as us working collaboratively together to support students. So I don't think there's been a punitive view of it all. I think it's been viewed as a support, another avenue of support for our students. And then we'll also be looking to bring in speakers next year. And I'll finish off by promoting our speaker who's coming up on June 24th at 7 o'clock. Dr. Kevin Hill will be making a presentation for the community. Dr. Kevin Hill focuses on, his specialty is the effects of marijuana on the human brain. And he's going to talk specifically about how marijuana affects the teenage brain. And that is 7 o'clock on the 24th, the day after school ends, in the high school auditorium. And I'm going to be offering community service hours for high school students who attend, because we want to encourage, this is geared towards students to get them to think a little bit about marijuana and its effects on the individual. So those are the types of things that happen through the Mobilizing the Community group. We did have a great community forum, which had close to 100 people attend in May, and we also sponsored the mock accident through Boston Medflight, even though the Medflight helicopter did not fly because it was a rainy, cloudy day. But we did do the accident recreation. So, kind of as a summary, you heard my themes, but I'll give a quick summary of them. Align curriculum to the 2011 Master's Frameworks, integration of technology into instruction, looking at the Crusader period and use of common planning time, continuation of PBIS models and building support, positive supports within the building, and then the whole mobilizing the community movement, which we involve the community in many ways, but everything within the school improvement plan kind of falls under one of those themes, and I'll take any questions.
Just ask a question. I remember last year you brought up the Crusader period, so I'm listening to you. You're pleased with the Crusader period. It has some tweaking to do, but you're satisfied with it?
I think that when the overarching theme of 70% of teachers saying that they collaborate more often or more on a more regular basis with other teachers, I think that's a real positive. Now, people, like I said, they had some concerns, and the concerns were really focused around not being able to be effectively involved in the common planning. The special ed teachers, the sixth grade teachers, some teachers who were teaching classes during that period. So most of the concerns were raised around, they said, well, we like the concept of what's happening, but it's not perfect because we don't have, it really isn't 100% everyone's doing it. So what can we do to get more people engaged? So I think it has been a positive overall.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So you can look forward to our complete district improvement plan in August. And we also will have a report we've had an ongoing committee to study the opening and closing times of the schools. And they surveyed the community and had an unbelievable response. Hundreds of parents have responded and students as well. So that committee is putting together all their data, and so you'll hear from that in August as well. So those are two upcoming things that you can put all these pieces together with.
Great, thank you.
So the next thing is our school handbooks, and our assistant principals work together and associate principals, and they're going to now present just the changes, because after you have a handbook together, you do not radically redo it unless there's a change in the law, because the handbook becomes the local law in the school. So this will present just the changes. Thanks to the parents. Thank you for coming. And so this, we will need a vote to approve the handbooks at the end of each presentation.
Okay. I'm going to be presenting the elementary handbook, the changes in the handbook. As Liz stated, very few changes as far as dates, staff voicemail list, and family school partnership. All those, so pages 13, 15, 16, 8, 9, and 18, were just updated to reflect the 2015, 2016 lists. So just the names, the dates, those were just updated. When we're looking at absent reporting, which is page 22, we changed the language from parents will be contacted within 3 days of the student's absence to parents will be contacted on the day the student is absent, and that just reflects what we do. We do call the day of, we don't wait 3 days. So that's just to update, again, the reflection of what we currently do. The absence and excessive absences, we're looking at, again, page 22. The change to language from guardians will be notified when a student has at least 5 days absence to guardians will be notified when a student has 10% or more absences. And the reason for that is the blanket statement of 5 absences means in June, if your child missed their 5th day, we're calling you and saying they've missed 5 days this year, which doesn't really make sense if you've missed 5 days come June. That's 1 day every other month. So what we've done is the 10% model, which gives you no more than 2 absences a month. And that percentage obviously follows the school year. So come January, if you have 4 absences and you end up getting the flu, so you get 2 more absences, that doesn't necessarily raise any red flags as far as absenteeism goes for us. So again, the 10% model allows for about 2 absences per month, and that percentage goes with the school year. Obviously, the percentage gets higher, or the numbers, I should say, of the absences are able to get higher as the school year goes on. The percentage stays the same.
Is there any more?
That's all I have. That's all we have.
Questions?
And I do really quick, oh, she left. Mrs. Weston helped a great deal on this, as well as Trish Leatherby, one of our teachers, helped a great deal on this.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Yep, I would like to make a motion to accept the changes as presented for the Carver Elementary School Handbook for the school year 2015-2016.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So I'm Christine Cabral, and I will go over the handbook changes for the middle school students grades 6 through 8 handbook. I did email faculty and ask for volunteers to consider revisions for the handbook, and I'd like to thank Dana Calderoni, Maria Calvo, and Sue Pasillo for volunteering their time to go over this with me. I did email all staff several times to let them know when we were meeting and if they had any concerns or suggestions to bring it to our attention, and we did not get any response. So I just take that as a couple of years ago we went through major revisions, really spent a lot of time working out the details and aligning the middle school handbook with the high school, and so I assume no news is good news. They're happy with our handbook. We did, in my notes to you, I identified areas that we're going to update: the directory pages, the school calendar, and some coordinators. But there was just one policy change. I included in my notes the after-school policy. That's how it currently reads in the handbook. Our after-school policy, years ago, we changed it. We really conduct the after-school as if it's like a seventh period of the day for students in grades 6 through 8. So the students are supervised. They're staying after school with a reason. They have like a transition period from the bell to report to their after-school destination, but then they stay there until 10 minutes of 3 when the bell rings, and that ends the after-school period. But all students grades 6 through 8 are in a location during that time. What we would like to change or add to that policy is, now that the library is open and available to all students after school Monday through Fridays, we'd like to have a statement read that the library is available after school Monday through Friday from 2:05 to 2:50 for 7th and 8th grade students. During this time, students are allowed to access library resources to complete academic assignments. So that's currently how it operates right now for 7th and 8th grade anyway. But as an extra support to 6th grade students as they transition to the middle school, I've met with both teams, the Alpha and Omega team, and they are all in support of this, that they will organize themselves next year so that one teacher is available Monday through Thursday. And 6th grade students will, if they stay after school, they will stay after school with a team teacher for additional supervised academic support. 6th grade students will be allowed to use the library only with a signed pass from a teacher, which just means that they have a reason to stay after school in the library. They need the resources, they need computer access for a specific assignment, but it will we just feel that the 6th grade students maybe need some more help with the organizational skills, or maybe won't work independently, and the team teachers will be available to them as a support. So what we're proposing then is that it reads that one team teacher is available after school Monday through Thursday from 2:05 to 2:50 to provide academic support for 6th grade students. Monday through Friday from 2:05 to 2:50, 6th grade students are allowed to access the library resources to complete academic assignments with a signed pass from a teacher.
So if a student's going to stay on Friday, they would get the pass from the teacher on Thursday for that Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Or they could get it that Friday, just when they
During the
arrive to the library, they would have to have a pass from the teacher.
Is this traditional teacher time, or is this a stipend situation, or are they graciously?
Each teachers are required to stay after school one day a week for extra support for students. And that's true of all teachers, but this works for 6th grade teachers because they're on teams.
Okay.
So where 7th and 8th graders, you're just never sure if, most cases it works, but you're never sure that a teacher's after school for every student every day. It's not always a different teacher.
Okay.
They might all be staying the same day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It just organizes their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott, you might know this. Is it school-wide that activities such as like maybe band or sports or anything are 3 o'clock, have to be at 3 or later? I was just curious.
They don't have to be at 3 or later.
That would work
but-
really well for somebody staying after. I was just looking.
Right, but in general, especially for athletics, I think the coaches are really good in terms of, they stay for a teacher, that's fine. No one's going to be penalized
No.
for staying for a teacher,
Mhm.
for extra help.
In fact,
And
they're very supportive. They say, stay and take care of your schoolwork and then come late.
Sixth
They
and
all,
seventh- and 6th and 7th graders have murals, and murals does start after school. It's not 3 o'clock, it doesn't start at 3 o'clock. So some of those kids have to make a choice. And I think some of this was some of the sixth graders, they weren't doing a good job of focusing themselves in the library.
And I think,
That's what really comes down to it. So they were enjoying their library time, but they coming in and not having their homework done, they enjoyed
it was, well, the library being available now Monday through Friday, the kids are taking advantage of that. So it's a very popular place to stay, but we would like to cut down on the socialness of it. And they're distracting to some of the older kids that really are staying and trying to get some work done.
And we were able to do this with
But I was trying to stay
paraprofessional
positive.
support. The paraprofessional comes in later and stays to keep the library open. So it's a cost-effective way to provide it that doesn't cost us any money.
And clearly it's getting used, so that's excellent. Yeah.
So, we need a vote?
So I'd like to propose a motion that we accept the changes to the 2015-2016 middle high school handbook.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans?
I don't.
Hello.
So, after, hopefully, as I've been going through the handbook year after year after year, unless, there's been fewer and fewer things to change, unless there's been some sort of, change to Mass General laws that required some serious work. To this year, I really don't have a substantive change in policy. I have just the changes to personnel and title pages and things like that, dates. That is the story on the middle high school year.
Approved.
I mean, most of our conversations now, I think, and through faculty council, most of our handbook discussion takes place, is really about enforcing the policies that exist. And, how universally the people in the building want to enforce each and every rule. Generally, it comes down to certain ones some policies that become consistent conversations over time. This time of year, dress code is a conversation that we have with teachers and students regularly. Other things like drinks in the hallway. The policies are clear, the policies are there, and it's really a matter of making some decisions about how we want to enforce them. But every conversation has really been about those enforcing the policies that exist, not necessarily suggestions about changing policies. So, if I may, since the night is still so young, I just wanted to say thank you to a few different people while I'm here. And so first, I would just like to make sure that I get a chance to tell you something that you already know. And working with Mr. Neef, you should know that as far as work ethic and dedication and integrity, there's probably some people who can match it because he's at maximum level of those things. Couldn't work more, couldn't have more integrity, couldn't be more dedicated to the school. And if you add that to his thoughtfulness about education and in his belief in the role that we can play for the young people in our school, it's just been one of the most rewarding things for me to work with him for the past 7 to 8 years, if you include my internship. And I just want you to know that, and I want him to know that that's how I feel. And I will miss working with him. I know I'll be in the same building with him, but I'll be a little bit jealous of Mark. In some ways, I will not be. And I also just wanted to thank Superintendent Sorrell and the district in general. Through my career here in Carver, which started in 1997, the district has really supported my path through education. I taught English, and then I resigned for personal reasons, and then those personal reasons didn't happen, and then I came back, and there wasn't a job for me, but then there was in Spanish, and so the district welcomed me back to teach Spanish, and then welcomed me back to teach English the next year. 7 years later, or 8 years later, the district was supportive of my move to math, and then was supportive of my internship as an administrator, and then hired me as an administrator, and now is allowing me to return to math. So I just feel like I feel thankful that I've been able to make these choices and that the district has supported me in doing that. I hope that I can reward that support. Going back to the classroom for me is definitely, it's going to be challenging. You should know that part of the reason that I am doing this, and it's not all the reason, but included in the reason, is that I do feel like the job of teacher has changed tremendously in my time as an administrator. And even in this district, in the 7 years that I've been here as an administrator, just technology alone and the things that teachers are doing in their classrooms, it's from, in my opinion, from 0 to 100, even in the last 4 years. And for me, that I need to really know that stuff. I want to understand that. I want to understand that job again in a way that I'm not sure I do now. I'm theorizing that maybe I'm just going to kind of go 2 careers, and then I just finished one career in education, and now I feel like I'm going to restart again. And I don't rule out administration at some point in the future. I look forward to the ability to look at my current job through the lens of my next job, the way that I've been able to look at the job of teacher as an administrator. And I feel like that's going to allow me to do some things much better than I did when I was a teacher. And then in the future, if I return to a role of leadership, hopefully being a teacher again, while keeping in my mind what I believe in, what I'm learning about the job of administrator as a teacher in a way that I never did while I was teaching before, then hopefully I can be a better leader as well at some point. So thank you. Thank you, Christine, working with you. Good luck, Mark. Thanks.
We'll give you his room number.
We're really all jealous. We would all like to work in that role.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the man. So, I skipped the vote. Sorry.
Well, first, we'll thank you. Thank you for all you've done for Carver and the students, and I know the parents will be glad to have you back as a math teacher and a superintendent. I'm very happy to have you back as a math teacher.
I hope that I can be of service.
Yeah, and then we can go.
Okay. So, you can make a motion.
Before I make the motion, I just have a question. What's the policy in the library, just thinking about this, for the high school kids? Is there something already in there and we just updated middle school, or do we need to put anything in, or
The
no?
high school doesn't have a specific policy.
Okay,
So
because
you
they're
can
older
run
and
They're
more
older.
self-regulated.
They're more self-directed.
Got it, okay, okay, cool. So I would like to make a motion to approve Mr. Evans' extensive 2015-2016 high school changes to the handbook.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Before we move to the facilities update, I just want to point out, I included as a handout here on the table, the June 1 numbers. The district is up totally by 9 students from the October 1, our official enrollment, but the elementary school has 25 more students than we had to begin with. So that's, it's about 3%. So, you know, over time. So, because if you think about it each year to year. So it is something we want to keep our eye on, and we'll see how much of that rolls back. We have 138 children registered for kindergarten with some more appointments next week. And preschool is growing by leaps and bounds. We started the year with 41 and we're ending with 58.
Wow.
So, you know, we're a growing institution, so I just thought I'd point that out. And now I'll turn it over to Peter for facilities.
Thank you very much. Since the last time we met, as you probably are aware, we went through a warm spell, which meant we turned off all the boilers because now we're going to need air conditioning. And right after that, we went through a cold spell. So we heard about the extremes, and we hope we now are actually into spring-summer mode. From that, these are the updates from the Director of Facilities, Mr. Siedentoff. At the elementary school, the new well has been drilled. Pumping tests were performed last week, and we're waiting for water quality tests. It should be back from the engineer in a couple weeks, so that's moving forward at the elementary school. At the high school, middle school, I think the last time we met, there was a performance in the auditorium, which was extremely warm, and we had to replace a air conditioning rooftop condensing unit, which is now fully functional, as well as a condensing unit in classroom 138. Over the summer, as we will see you again in August, there is scheduled maintenance to have some steel tubes that are leaking inside the boilers replaced, so we'll be taking those boilers apart to replace the leaking steel tubes. And then on June 20 and 21st, the high school is hosting the Relay for Life Cancer fundraising event, which is on the football and track fields. This is a 24-hour overnight event starting on Saturday morning, and the facilities crew will be ready to help with that event as well. And that is our facilities update.
Does anybody know, is that the first year we've done that Relay for Life, or is that something that's...
I think it might be the third.
Okay.
Third year. Dave takes care of it all. Yeah, it does.
Seamless.
It's seamless, yeah. So MSBA, did you have any additional stuff, Andrew or James?
I think Mr. Ward did a nice job. This is a little summarizing. Yeah, I would say Mr. Ward really summarized it pretty well.
We meet again on the 15th.
Right. And everybody's welcome to come. So in June, we always reappoint the Recreation Committee members that they have to be jointly appointed by the school committee and the Board of Selectmen. We're fortunate this year that both people want to continue. Dan Ferran and Mary Ross.
I'll make a motion to appoint Dan Ferran and Mary Ross to the Recreation Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The second recommendation is the schedule for our meetings, which is in B in your packet.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns with the dates?
No? So this is it then.
All right, so I would like, do we need to make a motion on that, or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so I would like to make a motion to approve and accept the school committee meeting schedule for 2015-2016.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
As I look at it, if we continue with the same town meeting schedule, we may have to change our April 11th meeting like we had to change our April 13th meeting, but it'll be something we can see down the road.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some field trip request. And John Rosen, the high school basketball coach, wants to do some team building this summer to go to New Hampshire, Klamath together. He will have the appropriate number of chaperones, and we're going to use our own buses. And I recommend that we accept this. It's out of state. That's why it comes to school committee. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the high school girls basketball program field trip to Mount Monadnock, New Hampshire.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And then that's all I have in respecting to.
Reports for the school committee. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add or discuss?
I'd just like to wish everybody a safe and happy summer. Enjoy it. It's right around the corner.
Barry?
Yeah, I just want to kind of summarize quickly what I participated in. I know Andrew was there the full convocation. I was able to go for 45 minutes, and once again, what a great inspirational experience to see all the accolades and the scholarships. So that was very impressive. And then I was able to stay for the whole graduation. And again, what an impressive bunch of students and faculty and everyone. I mean, the speeches were wonderful by the valedictorian and the salutatorian, the class president. And don't forget, Mr. Neef and Ms. Sorrell did a great job. I love your speeches too about China. So just fantastic. It's a nice end to the school year and all that we all contribute to in different degrees. And I know I'm the smallest contributor of all, but it feels good to be a part of it. So thank you.
I'd also like to say I enjoyed graduation as well, and I agree. I think Liz and Scott did excellent speeches, and I like how you incorporated China as well. And I'd like to congratulate the class of 2015. Anyone else? No?
I have a motion. And no one other reports, right? So I make a motion to adjourn to executive session with the intent to return to open session for the purpose of discussing strategy and preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel.
With the intent to or to not return to open session?
Well, the intent to return, yeah.
Okay.
You betcha.
All right. I will second that motion.
All in favor?
You have to do roll call.
Andrew?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Paula?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Okay.
Thank you all. Not bad for the June meeting.
Yeah.